Hello, everybody. This is Avi Harkishan. I just want to go over the indexes really fast going into tomorrow. I posted all the analysis in the Discord, but I wanted to do just a little bit of video analysis to explain anything further. Every analysis, screenshots of charts and everything is already posted in the Discord, so guys check that out for any write up. But just to do a little bit of overview, so let's take a look at VIX for a second. Let's go back to the daily. VIX is still currently trading within this range here. Keeps chopping within this range. You got a supply zone here. You got some resistance here. And you have what I call the last point of support at 1462 to 1412. That's your last point of support. You break that, it's going further down. So that's the level we're currently looking at. Jumping into the 2 hours chart. You're in this pattern wedge here, falling to the bottom. And what you have here, you continue to see rejection at this 1743 level. Going into what you have Friday, you rejected at the same level. You're breaking down on the 4-hour time frame. You created a fair value gap. So going into tomorrow's session, Monday, December 15th. Today is this Sunday, December 14th of this recording. You had a huge rejection here. And I think you can see this 4-hour fair value gap gets filled. And let's look at the 15 minutes chart really fast. This is why I'm calling for a further downside if we fail to hold this 4-hour fair value gap. You can see downside to 1458 because of this pattern retesting the bottom of this pattern here. So level to look for tomorrow is a retest of this 4-hour fair value gap at 1522. You want to see that level hold. If that level does not hold, then technically you're looking at a retest the bottom here. Where do I get that from? Well, there's two ways. You take your fib extension, ABC retracement from the top to A, B, and C tend to come right at this fib retracement or fib extension here at extension 1, which is 1453, which aligns with the last point of support demand zone that we have here, which everything just falls in terms of the trend line coming to the bottom. You have the demand zone. So a couple different confluences that you have there as to why I think you can retest the bottom here if you fail to hold the 4-hour fair value gap. Let's take a look at SPY. Pretty nasty close in terms of volume price analysis. You're seeing a double top at the top here. You have volume coming in, huge volume. Not much of a big spread in terms of the candle size. So yes, very bearish in terms of the weekly. Daily chart doesn't look good, to be honest with you. So I want to see a continuous push down going into tomorrow or this week here, where we could start closing below 7679 to push further to the downside. Something I'm looking for in terms of bearish scenario is if we could retest and push to the downside, then we could see a retest of this 657 or 666, and we're looking to correct this this level over here. So you have this pattern right here. Well, this is a retest that you saw here. So if we get this retest right on top here, you can continue to break to the downside in this broadening wedge pattern here. And the level that we will be looking at is correcting wave 2, which is in here. And you go to top and you can see a pullback that will come right between the fib extension 0.5 to 0.618, which is over here at this level. So you can see a rejection and further downside with towards that, what is that, 670 to 665. That will correct this entire move up that you see here. So that's the bearish case scenario I'm looking for. You want to see continuous rejection off of 683 to 685. That's key level going into tomorrow, guys. That's your resistance level going into tomorrow. What you want to see is a break of this break and rejection of 679 going into tomorrow for further downside. If you're holding 679, be careful shorting. You don't want to short at 679. You want to see a rejection at this level here if you're going to short. That's for SPY. Let's check QQQ. Give me a second here. Okay. Okay. All right. So QQQ. QQQ actually looks more nasty, matter of fact, in terms of bearish case compared to SPY. QQQ, I talked about this in the Discord. There is SMT, a bearish SMT, and what that is when one or two indexes are creating higher highs or new all-time highs, but the other index is just lagging behind. So IWM, SPY, and IWM are creating higher highs or new all-time highs, but QQQ are lagging. So that's an SMT divergence, which is something I talked about in Discord. To just keep an eye on that, because once you start seeing that forming, it's either one of them has to catch up or all three of these indexes will start distributing at the same time. And that's exactly what we had happen. This here is not a look of something I want to go long. Look at the volume on the daily chart. We are retesting this retest support level that I have over here. So that's a major key level that you want to keep an eye on going into tomorrow. As long as you're holding 612, don't short it, because that's a key level. You want to break this level here at 612 and reject it if you want further downside. So going into tomorrow, we can see something like this going into tomorrow. What you want to see happen is a retest and a rejection and further downside. That will be correcting this move up here. You'll be correcting this move up, which has to do with the coming back down or retesting 604 to 588 level. You'll be retesting, which is a 0.5 to 6.618 retracement level, which is over here as well, which is that retest level of $600. So that's the kind of move I would want to see for the retracement down. So that's what you want to see going into tomorrow. But as long as you're holding this 612, I don't recommend shorting it. You want to see a break and rejection of the 612 here. But in terms of VPA volume price analysis, you're still I'm still a bit bearish, looking for further downside, or at least a it kind of failed move to the upside and a rejection. So pay attention to that as well. Those are the key levels I'm looking for. But in terms of the daily chart and 4-hour chart, look kind of distribution, kind of like don't exactly like it here. But buyers did step in at this level here, so we want to see some sort of move to the upside and failed retest to the downside. That's what I would want to see going tomorrow. If I'm being bearish, if I'm being bullish, I want to see this 612, this level hold here as support. For IWM, IWM broke out of this resistance level here. Is just retesting this resistance level, which is 252 to 250. So it's currently retesting. There's nothing to do as long as it's holding above it. You don't want to go shorting as long as it's holding 250 to 252 level, because that's known as a retest of that level. What you want to pay attention to, however, in terms of the volume price analysis, this rejection here, it printed a what you call a bearish engulfing candle. So that's pretty bearish. So once it printed that bearish engulfing candle, you want to step back a little bit and be like, all right, I'm not gonna start. This is not a risk on situation where you're putting on risk. You want to be very careful, because then you could continue to distribute lower. You do have some daily fair value gaps at the bottom here that you could come back and retest, especially 244, which is the previous all-time high right over here. So you can come back and retest this level here if you continue to distribute lower. Now, levels I'm looking for tomorrow is, you want to see, if you're bullish, you want to see continuous, you want to see IWM hold this channel in here. You want to see it continue to hold 252 if you're bullish tomorrow. If you start to see a break of 252 level, and you start breaking this level, for if you're being bearish, you want to see a rejection coming back down and retesting to 44. That's the level I would be looking for. If you are correcting this move here from November 20th, Thursday, November 20th, you're taking your fib retracement tool, you're starting from the bottom all the way to the top. I don't want to go over here. That's some kind of fake candle, but it is what it is. It did print, but it fell right between zero point 0.5 and 0.618 is between 243 to 240. So you could see this fair value gap gets filled as well. So that's, I would at least look for a retest of 244 if I'm being bearish. If we start breaking this pattern here, this channel, and you start breaking 250 below, then I expect a retest of at least 244 and potentially a bit more downside to fill this gap. Let's trade the levels. Don't try to forecast too much. You don't know what the market could do, because if you start forecasting too much, what happens is that you fail to see what price is doing at each level, and you kind of screw your trades up. So you have to trade the level. Yes, okay to have forecast. The reason for having forecast is that you're forecasting the market, but at the set time, you want to have levels. So you're saying, okay, the forecast to the upside is this if this level breaks or if this level held support. And that's how you want to trade going in terms of day trading. Don't want to forecast too much and just jumping into the market with your bias. You want to see how price react at certain levels as well, key levels. So that's what I'm looking for. Don't know who trades GDX, but GDX is just retesting, which is this here is ETF for gold miners. Do expect a retest here of GDX 82 and continued upside. Chart still looks like it wants a bit more upside, but at least I would want to see some sort of a pullback to retest this breakout before any sort of last leg to the upside, before you start distributing back to downside to retest this $75 level here. That's what I look for, but still you could see a little bit more upside, but you want to hold key level here. You want to hold is $82 for GDX with gold miners. That's what I have for the indexes so far. Let me see if there's anything else I could talk about. All right, let's look at AMD, because I kind of like the AMD setup in terms of bearish case. So I don't want to look at every chart, just look at charts that have better opportunities. AMD is bearish at the moment. You're currently rejecting the previous all-time high, which is 277. It's between 220 to 277. Now, this was wave 5 at the top here. You saw an ABC to the downside. What we can continue to see, which is quite bearish, is you can see a WXY, which is complex correction. So this would be a W. You could have a short Y, WX, and you have your Y to the downside here. So that's a bearish case scenario I'm seeing. You are currently, so that's the bearish case scenario I'm looking for, retesting this level here. And that's what it's currently tracking to do right now. You do have a rising wedge. Well, here you have this pattern, this megaphone pattern, which is bearish. You broke below it. You're retesting the break at the bottom here in a rising wedge, and you're currently rejecting on higher volume. So I would expect anything, especially if you're looking at the 4-hour chart. This pattern here is kind of a distribution pattern. I would expect, if you're shorting this, as long as below 226, it's fine. You could expect a move back down here. Technically, this is how distribution work, and you continue to distribute lower like this, and you create some sort of a channel, and you continue to distribute lower. If this is the case, this is what I would look for to see happen. And usually you just see this pattern form where it's a rounding top, and then you have like a massive push to the downside. That's your last really push for your selling climax or so. That is something I would be looking for. But currently bearish on AMD. Is there any other one I'm looking for? Give me a second here. Let me check. All right, Meta. Meta is a bit bearish. Had a huge rejection here off of our supply zone. Top here. This is one of supply zone I've been talking about, where I have this level here, and I expect price to move up and reject. Posted that in Discord. If anybody go back, you can take a look at it. And you rejected really hard at this level here. So what I'm expecting now, I am expecting us to correct this move from the bottom here. And to correcting this move here, I'm expecting a move back down to the 0.618 to the 0.786, which is between $618 to $601. So I'm expecting this move. Once you break 631, this move is going to come. So I want to see at least a bit more downside here in Meta to at least give me that move that I'm looking for. So usually we retest. We're at this level. We could retest the 4-hour fair value gap, reject off of this resistance level that we have here, and continue to push downside. So if you're shorting this, if price is staying, price reject off 660 or so, and it continues to stay below 659, then that's a good short position, but you want to see a break here. That's what I'm looking for right now in terms of Meta. Anything else? Okay, let's talk about NVIDIA really fast. NVIDIA daily chart. This is a bearish chart. It's a distribution chart. I don't like it. You're currently in this downtrend. You have a retest here, support, which price could come back and retest is 163 to 168. You're currently breaking down from a retest level here, continually acting as resistance, 184. You broke below slightly, came back, retest, broke above, created a UTAD, came back, retest, and continue to break below. That's the distribution when you continue to do that. Now, you do have a rising wedge here. You're breaking below your rising wedge, increase volume. I expect NVIDIA to continue to distribute at least to 163 or so. Let me check what I posted in the Discord really fast. Okay, everything, guys, who's in the Discord, you could check that in the Discord. Let's go back here. Key level I'm looking for NVIDIA is, let's go into daily. It's the level here for NVIDIA. Look at that. You're breaking below point of control. You're in that recent quote unquote accumulation range. Broke above, continue to distribute. I want to see, and here you are, bear flag formation. You're currently rejecting bear flag formation, and I want to see a continuous distribution towards that 164. So this is the bearish pattern. You have a bearish MACD cross, increased volume. Matter of fact, you could see NVIDIA continue to distribute even lower. But we're looking at the weekly chart for NVIDIA. You're in a rising wedge. You're currently sitting above the daily 50 EMA. So at least I think you could retest that 164, 158 at the bottom here. And if you continue to move up, then you can have something like this moving up. But you got to see what the rest of the markets can do. If we're going to top out at wave 5, then you can continue to break to the downside. So we'll see. Still cautious, and NVIDIA still looks like it wants to drop a bit more. Let's take a look at Tesla really fast. So Tesla seems like it could still have a bit more upside here in Tesla. Still have a bit more upside. Had a really nice weekly close, matter of fact, on Tesla. Let me remove this. So had a nice weekly close on Tesla, which looks like it wants to really spike to the upside here on increased volume as well. So you're having a little bit of MACD cross going to the upside. You're having our BX trender crossing, closing green on the weekly. So there's no reason really to short Tesla. It does look bullish going into the market. So usually what Tesla would do is that when the market is topping, that's when Tesla would do it move to the upside and spike to the upside, and that's when Tesla will top out with the rest of the market, and that's when you will start distributing, when the entire market and Tesla is going to distribute. That tends to happen. So going into the market, I still think Tesla could see a bit more upside. Let's go to the 2-hour chart. This is what it will look like. You're in this pattern here. Let me fix this. Okay, so you're in a broadening wedge. Broadening wedge are usually bearish, where it continues to go to the upside. You can see a 5-wave move to the upside here on Tesla. You did a wave 1, 2, 3, pull back for 4, and you're seeing that 5-wave move to the upside now. which you could move right into resistance at 468, 470, and then you pull back towards this 422 area. Um, and you could see Tesla do something like that. So at least the key level I'm looking at here, if any sort of resistance, is this last move here. And you can see probably a pullback towards 435 or 422 area. So we'll see, but be careful going into the key resistance level that I have for Tesla is what is that? 460, 470 to 480 and 488 as well for Tesla. Let me see if I have any other chart for Tesla. So let's look at Tesla here. All right. So let's look at the daily chart of Tesla. Okay, here you are. You're in a rising wedge going to the upside within for supply zone. Key level here is major resistance 488. So if there's a rejection, you can see it happen over here at 488. Still think you can get a bit more upside on Tesla. So be careful if you're shorting Tesla. So I've given you all the key levels. Let me look at really fast. A lot of people talking about Netflix. Netflix, I'm looking for any sort of upside to be probably sold and continued a bit further to the downside for Netflix and FLX. Okay, so this is something I'm really paying attention to. You have a death cross 50 crossing below the 200 EMA. You broke below the channel. You broke below a retest level, all bearish checklist. Key level that I have here was this 95 level to 93 area that I have on my chart that I was looking at. This was a key level you want to see hold. You continue, you came to this level, you're kind of holding it, but I still think you'll see a bit more downside and you'll see some sort of failed bounce, which you could do a bounce on top here, bottom of the trend line, and then continue further to the downside because you do have a death cross here as well. If you're looking at the weekly chart, I do think you could see something like this, failed bounce, and continued to the downside here at $80. So I still have that level. You're still rejecting off of the 50 EMA on the weekly as well. So yeah, I still think you could see $80 on Netflix. Give me one sec. Okay, MSTR. If you're long, MSTR here, stay long. If you start breaking these level here, I still think you could see more downside coming back down to $102. You have an ABC to the downside already, right here, which could be a way forward. But if you start breaking farther to the downside, that will continue to reject and go further. So just be careful. It really tied to Bitcoin and so forth. It's a crypto related stock, so if you're long here, it's okay, just stay long. But if you start rejecting, and just be careful rejecting this level here, because you could start building out some sort of a bear flag and you can start breaking farther to the downside. So I just want you to be cautious of it. All right, that's it for tonight. That's everything I have here that makes sense. All right, guys, have a wonderful trading week ahead. Take care. Bye.